How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, May 23rd, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, now that the 2020-21 La Liga season is officially over, with this episode, of course, I'm going to give a really quick review of how this entire season went for every team involved, how it's going to play out, and what to look forward to for the 2021-22 season. So without further ado, just to kind of explain why the La Liga is set up the way that it is, I'm just going to kind of break it down, just look at the entire picture. So the La Liga is comprised of 20 teams, and because there's 20 teams, every team has to play the other 19 teams twice, at home and on the road. So every team in La Liga plays 38 games. One home game against all 19 teams on their schedule, and then one away game against all 19 teams on their schedule. Because every team in La Liga plays roughly an even schedule, there's no need to have a playoff type format to determine who had the best season, who is the champion of the league at the end of the year. But they do have domestic tournaments alongside of them that are single elimination. So in addition to winning La Liga, you can win the Copa del Rey, which is comprised of the teams from the top division and the second and probably the third division in Spain. But they have that kind of playoff format alongside this. But if we're talking about how to measure out a season, they will measure how each team fares when they play it against all their other teams, and they count up the amount of points they get from, let's say, they count up whether they win. They count up their wins, draws, and losses at the end of the year to determine who's the champion. They count it up on a point system. If you lose, you get no points added to your point total that they count at the end of the year. If you draw a game, which means you tie, you get 1 point added to your total, and if you win, you get 3. So virtually, if you were to draw twice and you were to win once and lose once, if you win one and lose once, you get more points in the table. That's how that works. And the way La Liga does it is they measure the amount of points for each team at the end of all 38 games. And they rank the teams for how they played for the exact same schedule from the very top to the bottom to measure and determine who wins. At the very bottom teams that the 18th, 19th, and 20th ranked teams in La Liga will, of course, get relegated to the second league, which means they get replaced. The bottom 3 teams will have to compete in the second division next year, and the top 3 teams from the second division in Spain will compete in La Liga next year, which is kind of a way of ensuring just keeping teams just cycling around through the divisions. So it's a very interesting way of doing it. So if you were to take it to La Liga's instance, the 20th team, Eibar, 19th Valladolid, and 18th ranked Huesca are all going to get relegated and drop down to they're going to get dropped down to the second league, the second division in Spain. And then you have teams 7 through 17 that have already that have clinched a spot in La Liga next season. But other than the Copa del Rey, they're not really going to compete in anything else outside of the La Liga season. So right then and there at 17, you have Elche, who finished 2 points ahead of Huesca, so they almost got eliminated. In 16th place, you have Getafe, who was 1 point ahead of them. In 15th, you had Alaves, who was 1 point ahead of Getafe. 14th place, it was Levante, who was 3 points ahead of Alaves. 13th place, Valencia was 2 points ahead of Levante. In 12th, where you had 2 teams tied for 11th, you had Osasuna and Cádiz. 10th place, you had Granada, who was 1 point ahead of Osasuna and Cádiz. In 9th place, Athletic Club was 1 point ahead of Granada. In 8th place, Celta Vigo was 7 points ahead of Athletic Club. In 7th place, Villarreal was 5 points ahead of 8th place Celta Vigo. And then the 5th and 6th spots in La Liga are reserved for the Europa League team. Which is the tournament that comprised of the teams that didn't quite qualify for Champions League. Even the third ranked team out of every group in Champions League gets dropped down into Europa League for a chance to win the Europa League final. So for Spain, the teams that will go straight to the Europa League without playing Champions League are 6th place Real Betis, who finished 3 points ahead of Villarreal. And then 5th place Real Sociedad finished 1 point ahead of Real Betis. Those are the two teams that are going to be competing. They're going to be representing Spain in Europa League next year for the 2021-22 Europa League season. And then the top 4 is going to be made up of teams that are going to qualify for groups in Champions League next year. 4th place ended up going to Sevilla, who finished 12 points ahead of 5th place Real Sociedad. And then finishing 5 points ahead of Sevilla was 3rd place Barcelona, who had a very tough start to the season, but of course led by Messi and Griezmann, they were able to turn their season around. They had a couple of chances to win the title, but towards the end they lost some games which they lost and drew some games that they actually needed, so they eventually knocked themselves out earlier than they wanted to. 2nd place and runner-up to La Liga went to Real Madrid. Real Madrid, they were the winners in 2019-2020, but this year, after it being incredibly close, it did come down to the wire. They did need a win in their last game. They did win their last game in the final seconds, but Atletico Madrid also ended up coming from behind to win their game to end up winning La Liga. With Barcelona in 3rd place and Real Madrid in 2nd. This is the first time Atletico Madrid has won since 2014, and this is the 2nd time that they've won since 2004, just to show how much Real Madrid and Barcelona have been dominating this year. But of course, with amazing goalkeeping, so far their team, I think, has only allowed 25 goals in the 38 games that they played, just to speak to the defensive prowess that Atletico Madrid has been playing with. They allowed 3 less goals than Real Madrid, and Real Madrid's defense has been amazing this year. The difference for Atletico Madrid was that they won one game where they won one more game than Real Madrid, and Real Madrid drew one more game than Real Madrid. Real Madrid drew one more game than Atletico, which is really what made the difference. And when it came down to it, it was a breakaway goal from Luis Suarez, Atletico Madrid's new striker from Barcelona, who ended up scoring at least 20 goals to help them towards their cause and help them come away with a very important title moving forward. Looking at the stat leaders in La Liga, there were 4 players that finished with 20 goals on the season, but so far 5th in assist was Youssef En-Nesyri from Sevilla. Alongside, or sitting right in front of him in 4th place, was Atletico Madrid's elite striker, Luis Suarez from Uruguay, who finished with 21 goals on the season in his very first season at Atletico Madrid. I know Messi is missing Suarez right then and there. Then you had 2 players tied for 2nd place for runner-up in the goal-scoring race. First, you had Gerard Moreno from Villarreal, who had an unreal season, and I imagine he's going to get paid this offseason after putting up such a great season against Spain's best. And tied with them for 2nd was Real Madrid's elite French striker, Karim Benzema. They both finished with 23 on the season in a 38-game season. And finishing tops in La Liga, who else would have guessed? It was Lionel Messi, the goated forward from Argentina, who put up yet another season of 30 in his 12th straight season of scoring at least 25 goals within La Liga itself. And this season, he will have to make a decision as to whether he's going to return to Barcelona. If this is his last season at Barcelona, it would go down as a very great one, because in addition to that, he would also be tied for 5th in assists on the season for Barca. Karim Benzema, Jorge de Frutos from Levante, and Denis Suarez from Celta Vigo all finished with 9 assists on the season. Sitting right ahead of them and tied for 3rd, you had Yannick Carrasco of Atletico Madrid and Toni Kroos, the elite midfielder for Real Madrid. They both finished with 10 assists on the season. 2nd in the league went to Marcos Llorente, the starting forward for Atletico Madrid, and the number 1 player and the league leader in assists in La Liga was Iago Aspas from Celta Vigo. He finished with 13 assists on the season to, of course, help his squad almost make Europa League. But that's what they're looking like. And then last but not least, checking out the clean sheet leaders, the leading clean sheeter in La Liga was Jan Oblak after putting up a virtuoso defensive performance. He had 18 clean sheets in his 38 matches that he played. which will probably go down as one of his best ever. There's a reason I have him listed as elite. Second in the league with 17 clean sheets was Thibaut Courtois, who had 17 clean sheets in 38 matches, 28 games in which he didn't, which is still incredibly impressive. Third place went to Bono, the goalie for Sevilla, the fourth team in Spain. He had 15. Alex Ramiro from Real Sociedad finished fourth, as he had 14 clean sheets in the 38 games that he played. And fifth was Barcelona's elite German goalie Marc-Andre ter Stegen. He had 11 of them in 31 matchups, just to give a quick glimpse into how the stats leaders finished out for Real Madrid. For Barcelona, for Atletico Madrid, and the rest of La Liga. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 10 and a half minutes of this piece. This is a great season from beginning to end for La Liga, and I know that everyone and fans, players, front offices alike are ready for this 2021-2022 season following Euros 2020. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 10, 11 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's matchups and exhibitions are done, I will come out with another episode tomorrow for the elite. And once the French, Italian, and English leagues are done, I will do the same thing for them. With that said, thanks a lot for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.